Let's talk about LLC, all tax forms you need to file. Here's an overview I want you to pay attention to. So when we talk about filing LLC taxes, you need to understand that basically, if your business is organized as an LLC, it may be taxed as a sole proprietorship, a partnership, or a corporation, and you may be responsible for self-employment taxes in addition to federal and state income tax. So basically, when we talk about the tax forms you need to file, it really depends upon the configuration, the tax configuration that you have, the election that you have. So owners of a limited liability company can choose and change how they file taxes. And so this flexibility is one of the qualities that make LLCs appealing to small business owners. But if you're just starting out, the LLC tax filing process can seem confusing, okay? And it's one of those things where you have to really choose whether you want to go with sole proprietorship, or you want to go with corporation, or you want to go with partnership. Now, let's talk about single member LLC. So single member LLC taxes work like those of sole proprietorships. So LLCs report the business income and expenses on Schedule C of the member's personal income tax return. The member then lists the net profit or loss on the income section of Form 1040, U.S. individual income tax return. Okay, as the IRS disregards LLC status for tax purposes, the company files like a sole proprietorship, and accountants and tax professionals treat sole proprietorship LLC taxes as if they come from a disregarded entity. Remember though, this is only for tax purposes. These LLCs still retain all of their limited liability protection. So as you can see on the screen here is how things look like. This is for Form Schedule C. So the forms needed if you're a single member LLC, you have Schedule C, as you can see on the screen here. This is a Form 1040. So the Schedule C actually shows a compilation of income, expense, and other items that relate to your LLC. But if you're a single member LLC, you file Form 1040, but you also have Schedule C. There's no need for a Form 1065 or anything. Everything happens at the individual level, okay? And the filing due date for Schedule C and Form 1040, if you're a single member LLC, is April 15th. So remember that date, April 15th. So mid-April, you got to really file your taxes, not a problem. So you don't have a lot of forms that actually are inherent to a single member LLC. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. Now let's talk about multiple member LLC. So you have single member LLC, but you also have multi-member LLC. So if your LLC has more than one member and files as a partnership, the LLC's income will flow through to the members themselves. So the members will report this income on their personal tax returns. And so paying multiple member LLC taxes involves issuing a Schedule K1 to each LLC member, showing the member's share of the LLC's profits. And your LLC's operating agreement should list each member's percentage share of the LLC's profit and losses. And the due date actually for Form 1065 and Schedule K1 is March 15th. So remember that it's not April 15th. We're talking here about March 15th. So basically you can see on the screen here is how a Schedule K1 looks like. So you have Part 1, Part 2. So when we talk about Part 1, you have information about the partnership. And Part 2, you have information about the partner. So it basically is Schedule K1 is a rundown of the profits and loss items as they relate to a specific partner. And so the general filing due date is April 15th. Remember that we're talking about what? Schedule K1 filing date is March 15th, but filing Form 1065, the due date here is April 15th. One thing I need to say here is that when we talk about Form 1065, we're speaking here about an informational return. You can see on the screen here. So Form 1065 is not a form on which you have to pay taxes. You are simply informing the IRS of your LLC's operations, your LLC's income items, your LLC's loss items, and so on and so forth. Okay, so LLC members then report their share of profits or loss on Schedule E of their personal tax returns. Members must report and pay tax on their entire profit share, even if they leave some of those profits in the business rather than taking them home. So this is kind of important to really pay attention to that. So the forms needed if you're a multi-member LLC, Schedule K1, Form 1065, Schedule E, Form 1040. Okay, once again, the due date, Form 1065 or Schedule K1, March 15th, the general filing due date is April 15th. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about LLC, all tax forms you need to file. Now let's talk about LLC's tax as C corporations. So it's important to really understand that before you actually, let's say before you elect to pay taxes as a corporation, it's better to talk to a specialist. Okay, you can reach out to a CPA, you can reach out to a lawyer, a tax lawyer, or you can reach out to an enrolled agent. So an LLC can file as a C corporation by filing Form 8832, entity classification election with the IRS, and corporate taxation is complicated. So it's a great idea to consult an accountant before paying taxes as a corporation. And some reasons an LLC might choose corporate taxation include you plan to leave a substantial amount of money in the business each year to finance expansion or for other reasons. Your profits are far greater than the amount the owner employees should reasonably make in salary, and you want to minimize the self-employment taxes. And one thing you need to really remember here is that an LLC taxed as a C corporation files a corporate income tax return every year, and they will file corporate income tax on Form 1120. And the shareholders also report any salary and dividends they receive on their personal tax returns. And the cool thing here is that owners report their dividends on Form 1040 on their tax return. This is really important. So again, remember that when we talk about C corporations, we are speaking about double taxation. So C corporations are generally subject to a taxation at both the corporate level and the shareholder level. So on both personal returns, okay? And it's important. So the forms we're speaking about here, forms needed, Form 1120, Schedule B, Form 1040. And so you can see this on the screen here. This is how Form 1120 looks like for this year. And this is Form 1120. Now I want to show you here, Schedule B. So this is Schedule B. You can see on the screen here. So you have interest and ordinary dividends. This is how it looks like. You have the part one, you have interest, and part two, you have ordinary dividends. So the filing due dates for this here, if you have a multi-member LLC or you have a single member LLC and you elect to file as a corporation, the filing due date is April 15th. Let's talk about LLCs taxed as S corporation. So an LLC can also host a further election to file as an S corporation. An LLC taxed as an S corporation follows a procedure similar to a partnership. So the thing that happens here is that the LLC files an informational return and provides members with a Schedule K1 form showing their share of the profits or losses. So what happens here is that we have, basically you have a form called 1120S. So you can see on the screen here how a Form 1120S looks like. Okay, so Form 1120S is basically an informational return. Basically, in other words, it's an FYI to the IRS to sort of let them know what's really happening. So this informational returns actually provides members provides actually the IRS with more information. But the LLC also must file a Schedule K1 form showing the shareholders' share of the profits or losses. And the members report that income on Schedule E of their personal tax returns. Okay, I said shareholders, but I should have been saying members because we're still talking about LLCs here. So I want you to look on the screen here. So here is how Form 1120S looks like. And basically the forms needed if you are an LLC and you elect to be taxed as an S corporation, you got to really have a Form 1120S and also Schedule K1 Form 1120S. So here is how Form 1120S looks like, and here is how Schedule K1 of Form 1120S looks like. So you can see on the screen here, and we're talking about a filing due date that's around March 15th. Okay, it's around because sometimes if the date falls on a weekend, then you have to go to the next business day. But the bottom line here is that when we talk about an LLC electing to be taxed as an S corporation, things are pretty straightforward, nothing complicated. But this form of taxation requires more record keeping. In other words, the IRS wants to make sure that you are actually keeping records properly, especially around the whole topic of reasonable compensation. You got to pay yourself. If you leave all money in the business, the IRS is going to reclassify your retained earnings as salaries and tax you on those. Okay, so you got to pay yourself reasonable salary so that the IRS can get its fair share of taxes too. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about LLC, all tax forms you need to file. Let me give you the approach you need to really pay attention to. The thing is that when you have an LLC, you have other taxes that you have to consider, okay? Like all business structures, LLCs owe more than federal income taxes. Additionally, LLCs may have to pay multiple taxes to their state and federal governments, depending on their location and tax classification. Everything depends upon the location. The geography plays an important role. So when we talk about additional taxes, we're speaking about, for instance, self-employment tax, right? We have income taxes, and this has to be personal and corporate. You have to think about payroll taxes. You have to think about property tax. You have to think about Social Security tax, excise tax, sales tax, and so on and so forth. Now let's quickly go through a few of them so we have a clear idea of what we're talking about here. So let's first talk about self-employment taxes. So if an LLC files taxes as a sole proprietorship or partnership, the IRS considers its members self-employed for federal tax purposes. So this is kind of cool because when you work for an employer, your employer pays half of your Social Security and Medicare taxes, and you pay the other half, right? But when you're self-employed, you must pay the full amount yourself. So on your annual tax return, you can deduct half of this tax from your income, which slightly offset the impact of the self-employment tax. You must file Schedule SC Form 1040 for self-employment tax with your tax return. You also got to think about the estimated quarterly taxes. So self-employed individuals need to make estimated payments on their self-employment and their personal income tax every quarter. And so failure to file quarterly taxes can lead to penalties and interest. So LLC members can make estimated tax payments on Form 1040-ES. So when we talk about LLC, all tax forms you need to file. Form 1040-ES is really important. I'm showing you right now here's how the worksheet, the ES Form 1040-ES looks like, the estimated tax worksheets, okay? You also got to think about the state income taxes. So states can set their own tax rates on personal and corporate income, and making accurate payments on state taxes is just as important as federal filings. So LLCs and their members may need to file income and franchise taxes in every state in which they do business. State tax forms and due dates vary from state to state, so this is really important. Let's talk about the steps you need to really follow here. So, it's important to really understand that you can change your tax classification depending upon your needs, your operational configuration, your sector, and so on and so forth. So LLCs can change their tax classification by adjusting their ownership structure or electing to file as a corporation. LLCs can change their tax status at any time. However, they cannot elect to change their status again until 60 months after the first effective date of election. So that's 5 years, okay? So you can change your LLC tax classification in 3 steps. First of all, you need to pick the structure best suited for your LLC. So you can file LLC taxes as a sole proprietorship, as a general partnership, as a C corporation, or as an S corporation. So many LLCs change their classification to become a corporation, but in rare cases, they may switch from partnership to proprietorships or vice versa. So you want to carefully consider each structure's strengths and weaknesses before making a decision. So the first step is you want to pick the structure best suited for your LLC. The second thing is you want to convert your business structure here. So every tax classification comes with distinct requirements. So to file as a sole proprietor, you must found your business as the only member. You must buy out other owners to convert to a sole proprietorship. And to file taxes as a partnership, you need to found your LLC with more than one member. And you need to add another member to a sole proprietorship. And also to file taxes as a C corporation, you need to receive consent from all LLC members or one properly authorized officer. You need to pay double taxation for personal and corporate income. And you need to exchange the assets and liabilities under your previous business model for shares, okay? And to file as an S corporation, You must retain fewer than 100 shareholders. Restrict non-resident aliens from becoming shareholders. Offer only one class of stock. And restrict other corporations or partnerships from becoming shareholders. And the third thing you need to do is to file after your effective date of election. So once the members decide of an LLC structure change, they must file with the IRS. If an LLC doesn't submit the proper form in time, it may have to pay taxes based on its default classification. So the form you submit to change your classification depends on your new structure. So for disregarded entities, partnerships, and C corporations, you got to submit Form 8832. For S corporations, you need to submit Form 2553. So there's a difference there. Now, let me close to this conversation by giving you best practices for filing LLC taxes. It's important to really understand that you want to really get organized as soon as possible because you don't have time really, okay? Every LLC tax classification needs to file unique forms on different tax due dates. I've just given you some of the most important ones here. So you want to study IRS guidelines in advance to prevent incorrect filings and also or missed deadlines in tax season. This proactive approach will also highlight deductions and tax loopholes that may actually benefit you. And so basically, when it comes to filing your LLC and personal taxes separately, you should really need to pay attention to what really works for you. You will need to file separate tax returns for your LLC and personal taxes. If you operate your LLC as a proprietorship, partnership, or S corporation, the IRS treats your LLC as a disregarded entity. This means that your LLC's income is reported on your personal tax return. However, if your LLC is a partnership or an S corporation, your share of the profits will also be subject to separate income tax filings as part of the partnership or S corporation return. So it's really important to consult with a tax professional to ensure accurate filing of both your LLC and personal tax returns. Okay, so basically, would you actually receive your LLC's own return? Yes. It really depends if you structure it the proper way. So only LLCs structured as C corporations receive a separate tax return. Otherwise, LLC profits show up on a personal tax return. And don't forget to also deduct LLC startup costs if you are a new business. The IRS offers special deductions to LLCs during their first few years of operation. So you stand a better chance of seeing your business grow by capitalizing on those opportunities, okay? And also, you got to really pay attention to you got to really find classification-specific tax breaks. So every LLC tax classification can take advantage of unique deductions. So it's better to actually have a clear idea. And so you will need to fund the deductions applying to your business structure. And unlike startup deductions, those savings will apply as long as your LLC maintains its structure. So bottom line here is that you need to really think about what really works for you. So no matter your business structure, there is no way to avoid taxes, but LLCs allow actually their owners to choose the best tax strategies for their firm. And with so many options available, the right choice can dramatically improve your finances, not only in the short run, but also in the long run. So this is really, really critical here. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. Let me do a quick recap here. In today's conversation, I explained to you all LLC tax forms you need to file. So I give you the overview, the approach, the steps, and thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.